when a stock becomes almost 17% of your portfolio, I think you should be telling people about it. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. I'm not talking about good stocks. I'm talking about a great stock. I'm going to tell you why I bought it, why I continue to buy it year after year. And the stock we're talking about is PayPal. Hey, I'm Luke Downey. Here is another edition of Lessons with Luke. I've been investing for about 20 years. I just want to help you become a better investor. So if you like this type of content, make sure to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. So let's go ahead and get into it. PayPal just reported earnings. I was looking in my personal accounts, and I have a number of them. Don't need to get into the weeds here. And I realized that it is 16.5% of one of my accounts. This is an account that I've had for years. And so I was like, oh my gosh, how did this stock actually become such a huge concentration? And I remember the story very well, and I figured I would tell you about it because people ask me all the time, when do you bet big on a stock? I'm going to tell you why I bet big on PayPal years ago. So we got to rewind the tape a little bit. Go back to a dinner that I had. This is about 4 years ago, maybe 5 years ago. I don't know. I'm getting old. But basically, it came time to pay the bill. I'm pulling my wallet out. And then the two people that I'm with, they start pulling their phones out. And so I asked them, okay, what are you guys going to do? Give me your credit card. And they were like, no, can I just Venmo you? I had no idea what they were talking about. And I was like, honestly, I'll just, pay for the bill and then you guys can settle up with me later. So fast forward to that night, I remember going home and looking up what Venmo was. I started realizing, okay, there's this social component, it's a way to pay people, all that type of stuff. And then I realized that PayPal owned Venmo. Now, years prior or 1 year prior, sometime prior, I have actually owned PayPal. Now, I was drawn to this stock because it had great earnings, great sales, all that type of stuff, because that's what I do. That's what I look for, right? That's the seeds of greatness. But whenever I had a moment where I realized that there was something going on, like these people at my dinner, they didn't want to pay with cash. They didn't want to pay with their credit card. They wanted to pay with their phone. And they weren't just like related people. They both pulled out their phones at the same time. It really told me that I needed to investigate it. And I started looking into it. And the more I started to look into what Venmo is doing, what PayPal is doing at the time, I decided to get bigger on the position. So let's go ahead and look at a chart of PayPal real quick. This is a 1 year chart. And I'm not kidding you guys. When I started investing in PayPal, I think it was somewhere around 40 bucks. I kid you not. And it could have been like 50 bucks, 50 shares, could have been 100 shares. I don't know. But when I started reading up on Venmo, right now, I'm already familiar with PayPal at the time. But when I started reading on Venmo, and then I started to think about what could this mean, this social component of how you pay people, maybe retailers are going to get involved with it in the future. Maybe there's a way that they could monetize it. I got super excited and I started to add to my position. So listen, this stock basically was a $40 stock. Now it's, they just had phenomenal earnings because that's what great stocks do. Stock is near 260 bucks. Used to be at its peak was 309. But again, why did I pick this stock in the first place? The seeds of greatness, right? And so the green, that's the revenue. Look at the blue, that's the earnings. We like that. You look on a quarterly basis. I mean, it's got everything that you want to see. So I was already invested in the stock, but then I started looking into Venmo and started to think, wow, this could be really big. Now, I didn't realize that the stock was going to, go as high as it did. I didn't know that it was going to basically be a 4, 5, 6 backer. But when I knew that the company had great earnings, great fundamentals, great sales, and it had this awesome news story that I don't think Wall Street was even talking about it at the time. I knew that it was probably a good bet, right? You know what they say on Wall Street, there's good bets, there's bad bets, there's winning bets, and there's losing bets. I'm all about trying to make good bets. And so when to bet big, I've got the 4 things right now that I used to size up PayPal. And this can help you whenever you're trying to size up, when do I want to really bet big on a company? Because there are good stocks, but every now and then there are great stocks. And I thought PayPal was great back then. I still think it's great today. So the number one thing that you want to be looking for is the stock in a great space? You take a company like PayPal. They're doing digital payments. Is that a great space? Yeah, because everything is digital. I mean, you go online, they always, almost everywhere you go, pay with PayPal, pay later with PayPal. It's all over the place. So they are dominating. It is a big space. And I am rarely using cash or anything to pay for stuff. Everything is done digitally. PayPal is a dominator in that space. So that's number one. PayPal checked the boxes years ago, checks the boxes today. Number two, does the story make sense? Does it make sense that, there's a great space that this company is in, but also that it is going to continue to expand? Like, do we think that there are going to be more people that are going to be using online payments? And then is PayPal going to, capture some of that? Of course. So that made sense to me at the time. And again, remember, they always had good numbers. And that's why I was invested in them initially before I even knew about this Venmo. So number three, the numbers, do they add up, right? And you guys know that I'm looking at quality. I want to see sales accelerating. I want to see earnings accelerating. And PayPal it's a company of this size. And even back then, it was a profitable company, right? They have to be doing something right. Story makes sense. Great space, great numbers. And then also, if you can somehow tie it personally, it's like have some of that personal evidence, right? Where I'm sitting at dinner, people are trying to pay with Venmo, then it starts to make sense. Like, wow, there's something here, because I had never heard of it at that time, And so that was enough for me to say, wait a minute, this company is just amazing, right? I already know it. I'm already invested in it. I probably want to be adding into it. And so instead of waiting for the company to make new lows to add in, I started adding as the stock went up and up and up. As it made new highs, I'd wait for it to pull back, then I might buy a few more shares. And then all of a sudden, this stock has now become almost 17% of one of my personal portfolios. And that is a praise report. And it reminds me of what Mom used to tell me. Mom is a religious woman, so hopefully this doesn't offend you, but she used to tell me that in the Bible or something, that all are called and few are chosen. Now, I never thought much of that, but I think that is also what happens in the stock market, right? Every now and then, stocks get the call, but very few are going to be chosen. Those are the ones that are going to be riding off to the sunset. They're going to change the way everything is done. And PayPal is one of those types of companies. So again, this isn't personalized advice. This is just how I did it and how I knew for me to get big on a stock. So I'd love to hear your comments. Let me know how you guys decide to bet big on a stock. I'll see you next week.